go ahead and get started. We've got a quorum.
Please do.
Okay, letting everyone know we will be going into closed session today. So if you want to get some food, please, because you will all be dismissed. All right, the meeting has officially been called to order. The first item on the agenda is public comments. Angela, I don't know if you'd like to address the board today.
I would. I have, I'm recording again for residents that can't attend. My comments this time are relatively brief. In previous meetings, some people have expressed a lack of concern of the level of arsenic in our water because parts per billion is so small. And so I would like people to remember that DDT was once considered safe at 7 parts per million in food. And TCDD, which is a dioxin, was a trace typically at 2 to 3 parts per billion, was a trace but significant contaminant of Ancient Orange, which, as many people probably know, severely affected our veterans in being exposed to that and serving our country. Additionally, the possibility exists that inorganic arsenic in drinking water poses a special carcinogenic concern for pregnant women. A data-driven perspective should be able to see that despite fluctuations, the trend line tracks upward from under 8 to almost 9. The EPA has also said on the record the only safe level of arsenic is 0, and that 0 should be the goal. But the people crafting the guidelines understand that cost is an issue, and so it was set at 10 parts per billion. And we should be good stewards of our financial resources, as well as our environmental ones, and that is why the board should commit to requiring that any engineers on the new well are qualified and mandated to drill any new well in such a way as to minimize the amount of arsenic in our water, as well as have a plan in place to communicate with the district at large on exactly how the engineers intend to ensure the least amount of arsenic possible in the new well. As a resident, your neighbor, and your constituent, I would like to better understand why, if we are under contract to buy 30 million gallons a year of water anyway from MUD 216, why we're not using the interconnect first when there's an emergency. We have used West Park and others in the past. If we do need to buy water, we can we buy it from whichever interconnect has the lowest arsenic? I don't know if that's 216. And can we prioritize interconnects with the lowest arsenic? Additionally, in researching water systems, I came across the Texas Rural Water Association. I was looking it up because I remembered driving around Texas seeing superior and improved water supplies, and I was curious what that was related to, and apparently it's related to the Texas Rural Water Association. And I'm curious why we haven't explored joining TRWA for emergency generators, because members have access to generators for free during an emergency. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the last comment about the generators. Could you?
TRWA, part of their membership benefits is access to free generators during an emergency of one of their members.
For MUD districts or individuals?
MUD districts. For their TRWA is not just MUDs, it's SUDs as well.
And if as long as they're available. They don't have an infinite supply of them, but
I'm sure they don't have an infinite supply.
Well, I'm just pointing out that if we have a situation where we had the major freeze, then several MUD districts would be impacted.
Sure.
And some will get generators and some may not. And so by buying the generators, right, we are assuring ourselves that given an emergency, we will have a generator available.
Absolutely. I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing our generators. I'm saying there's a concern before the generators are online about renting and securing costs and buying cables and interconnects and such as whatever. Mm-hmm. That is a stopgap. Buying a year membership in TRWA is cheaper than what I've been seeing, possibly. It hasn't been explored. That's what my point.
I think we've already closed that out.
Sure.
Haven't we? Mm-hmm. We've already ended in. Yeah. So we'll talk about that. I'm sorry. We'll talk about that when we get.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, Angela. All right, Mr. Clem.
Do I have?
No, not at all. You can sit here if you want to be closer.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to come before you. My problem is that in May of this year, I had a water bill of over $700. I have never had a water bill over $200. The volume it said that I had for the month was like 3,700 plus gallons a day. To date, they put me a new meter in on the 22nd, if I remember correctly, of June. Since the 22nd of June, I've only had 32,000 gallons of water, or an average of 620 gallons a day. And I've been watering my flowers and other stuff along with it. I cannot see any kind of way that I could have had 116,000 gallons of water, a little over $700 water bill month of May. I have asked for consideration on that. I was told that they have no choice but to charge me whatever the meter says. They took my meter out, put me a new meter in, and they went back, said they found the old meter that they took out, and it was correct. I'm willing to pay a reasonable amount, but I think the $700+ is just way out of line for me and for what I have in my house. We have no leaks, so I'm asking for help.
So y'all aware of this?
Yes.
So
yes.
What's
and so
what happened?
Yeah, so we have essentially the read at the beginning of June, did show a high amount. 116,000 gallons was the total for the billing period. So we did have someone go out there, reread the meter just to make sure there wasn't issues. Of course, the meter was replaced as a part of our million meter change out program. So the timing is, right in that line, but it wasn't related. The meter didn't need to be changed as a result. It was just a part of our million meter program change out. And so we did change that out on the 22nd. So that is correct. Check there was no leaks, everything like that.
22nd of May.
June. I'm sorry. It was for because the billing period would be for that high bills April 28th through May 30th billing period, and so we changed it June 22nd because it was I think the final read was 1.2 million and change on that particular meter, and the new one has gone in and is working as intended.
So there was almost a month in between the billing cycle in question
and the
change out under the same meter.
Correct. Okay. Correct. Yeah. So it'd be 22 days after that billing period. And then the next billing period, the May 31st through June 29th, there was the 32,000 that was used on the original meter, the older meter, and then it was changed out, and then an additional 3,000 was used after that. So a total of 35,000 for the following month for June. And so we, typical, with our district and the things we've laid out, that if there is a high usage, a leak has occurred, if the resident is able to provide proof of repair, we can make an adjustment down to the very first tier rate. And I did the calculation out just to see what it would be. So the water line item for that May bill was $399.50. Of course, the fees and sewer and everything like that does bring it up to the 700 and change. Adjusting it down to the first tier would bring it down from $399 to $169. Like I said, if we did a leak adjustment, of course, I'd bring it to the board here for y'all's approval before taking any action.
So I'm sorry, Miss. I forgot your name. I didn't catch your name.
That's all right. Clem, just like CLEM, but it's KLEHM.
Is that the last name?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Clem. You said you didn't have any leaks?
No, sir, I didn't.
And we didn't have any reported leaks or anything?
Well, we went out there and checked, as we do with high usage. When our technician went out there on the older meter and then later on in the newer meter, there is an indicator in there that will move showing a leak or running water of some sort. So we did check our side on the district side where all the gaskets, everything that checked out, no leak. So it did indicate a leak on the homeowner or resident side.
I have a drip in one of my faucets. It amounts to, I don't know, 3 gallons a day, which is about 40 cents a month. So I don't consider that worth me changing out, because where it would be a very sizable amount of money to change it out.
We did confirm Mr. Clem doesn't have a pool or a sprinkler system.
No.
Sprinkler system's usually the first thing we turn to in these sort of instances.
And were your bills before this were normal up through that time?
Yes. December was 14,000 gallons. February was 21,000 gallons. April was 40,000 gallons. And like I said, since the new meter's been in, it's been 32,000 gallons, which was 52 days.
Do you, Mr. Clem, do you water your yard with a hose and a sprinkler, or how do you water your yard?
With a hose and a sprinkler. I set the hose out and set it up to water a little certain part of the yard. Then I come back in 30 minutes and change it to another location.
As long as,
and there's some, in fact, I had the daily runs, and you can tell which days I had it out. I now go out and read the meter every evening at 6 p.m. or approximately 6 p.m. and tell you the days that the water ran higher, that I was watering the yard. I've got all that information.
So I should know this. I'm going to ask you. But,
sure.
So, we check the meter once a month. We don't have any way within the meter of knowing, like on any other increment other than when we read it, what happened. Like, there's nothing that toggles days. We can only break it down to the month.
Yeah, so it'll be, read to read, what was prior month's read versus this month's read, that billing period.
Yeah.
And Robert, if you said took it down to the first tier, it reduces the bill from 700 to what?
Well, we only can adjust the water line item, the sewer and the water authority fees. We can't adjust. So it'd bring the water line item was $399.50, and it would take it down to $169.50.
For the total bill being what?
That was it, $709.48. Here, let me do the math here real quick. I have it written out, but I didn't calculate that.
It's about a $230 decrease.
Are the other two related to your water usage, the sewer? And how does it?
Yeah, why would it be?
So it'd be $479.48 with the adjusted bill.
The main expense on any water bill is your authority fee.
And your fee?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we can adjust those, but I guess.
But I guess I'm trying to see that.
Still based on
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah. So since I've been on the board 4 or 5 years, I don't recall anybody having a water bill that's had to come to the board to present it. I guess it was resolved for the board level. We didn't hear about it. So
No, I think there have been some.
We've had a couple.
Yeah.
At the board,
we've had a couple.
Yeah.
What's our protocol on?
Well, it depends on situations.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, a lot of times, it's when we put in the water restrictions and people are only supposed to water on certain days, and there's evidence that they're not, and they get penalized for that, and that's when we'll usually have a few people coming in complaining about that, and we tend, just say, I'm sorry, but everyone is aware of it. And so this is a different situation. This is not that situation.
And I'm a veteran. I have a very, very limited income.
Sure. Yes, sir.
And so I went and paid $250 on last week. 2 days later, I got a cutoff notice for the end of the month. And that really upset.
So the total adjustment then, take out all the other fees, would bring it down
So it'd be 709.48 is the bill total, and it would go down to 479.48.
Well, and adjusting those other fees,
Well, I mean, the sewer's $16.50. That's fixed.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I understand that.
right.
Yeah.
But the other fees that are contingent on water usage.
Yeah, the water, the GRPs, that line item is 293.48. I don't have the tiers in front of me to calculate that down for that adjustment.
How much is that? Like 253,
293.
293? I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
a gallon.
Oh, a gallon?
1,000 gallons.
Do you know off the top of your head? I'd have to look it up. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I'd have to look at what it was. It 3 something, I think, per thousand.
How much?
I think it's like
About
$3
three.
per 1,000 gallons for the city.
Actually, it's right here in front of us. $3.95 per 1,000 gallons of groundwater pumped by district.
So what is your normal bill?
It fluctuates very much.
Yeah, the 12-month average is 34,300, and it goes as low
Well, summer
as
months are going to
7.
be higher.
What was
Yeah.
it? What was it? What was the usage the month prior and the month after the month in question?
So April was 40, May was the 116, and then June was 35.
40 and 35. So if you take the average of that, it's 37.50.
And I have no problem paying a reasonable bill. I mean, that was, just caught me by surprise and I didn't have the money.
Well, we understand. It's,
What would it be at 37, say 37,500?
37,500.
That would just be his normal water.
That'd be the normal water bill
He
then.
pays, whatever it would be. I don't know if we can just calculate it.
If my bill was calculated on that, I'd be happy.
And do you have the cost when you did 40,000? What was that would be April.
I would like to
Yes.
make one correction. The district's regional water authority fee is not $3.95 as it's $2.50.
That's what I have.
Just want to make sure that's right. Angela, you're reading the regional
Yep.
waters. Okay, sorry. Make that clear.
For July, I got some here. July 22, my bill was one. August 22 was 188. September 70. The winter months was much less.
What was your June bill at 40,000 gallons? You don't have that one?
June was $179.
79.
My April bill was 137.
This is your latest bill here you're talking about. So the most comparable would be the June bill.
Yes. Or one of the summer bills last year.
Let's, thank you for your service, by the way, Mr. Quinn. I think we ought to just go with, whatever the June bill was. What do you guys think?
June bill.
Authority to do that?
You do, I would caution you, is that what you're going to charge them for water, or the dollar amount for the June bill is what you're, because the district still has to pay the RP fees. That's coming out of what the district has to pay the city of Houston, not just your water fees, residents.
Yeah, so for the
So
May bill,
all other
Come out of our
residents have,
funds.
yes, but all other residents have to pay their GRP fee, pass-through rate to the
The
So if
GRP,
you-
that's most of the bill.
I understand, sir, yes.
So if we make an adjustment on the gallons used, do we get a credit on that GRP fee that we have already
No.
paid?
Or the water was used, water was taken.
The district has to pay it regardless, which is why you charge your residents what the district is.
and that portion's the 293.48 for the GRP alone.
So there's no way to get any of that back
No.
from the city?
What happens if A meter was determined to be incorrectly read.
So if a meter is incorrectly read as far as our billing, it would be, I guess an administrative correction, but the water that goes through is correct. It's just, let's say it was, we read 50,000 and it was 5,000, like they just, mixed the numbers up, and the district only got charged for that 5,000 because that was actually physically used. It's just we had a clerical error that we'd fix, which would adjust it. But as far as what the district's paying or would be charged by the authority, would still be at the correct amount.
And because we don't have any evidence to support a bad meter or a bad
Right.
meter reading based on our investigation, we can't.
Yeah, because we had a technician go out a few different times for the new meter and the old one.
No, I'm not saying that's not true. It's just no matter what the district. That's
I
what I'm-
understand.
That's all, just to make that.
Comes out of
help.
there.
Yes.
We can also offer payment plan.
Right.
For several months. That would help.
That would help.
Our district director currently is 3 months. Don't want to make it 6 months or something.
If you bring it down to level 1, and we do a payment plan over 6 months.
Or to bring it down to just the
I don't-
GRP.
What is your
I
address,
don't
sir?
think I need that much. What?
What is your address, sir?
19203 Evendale Court.
Okay.
77094.
Maybe I tapped in.
I thought of all those things.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure you did. I just figured I'd
Yeah.
ask.
And if y'all would like, we could adjust the bill down to the lowest tier, billing that for y'all's amount of water, he will pay the authority fees, whatever they are, and then we could set up a payment.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to see, is
What
what
would
that,
that be?
what would that be?
That was the one that was gonna take the 230, wasn't that 230,000?
Well, the 293 is the GRP. And so it would
So
bring
that
it,
stays, and then what's the
What
tier
did you
one?
say?
What'd you say?
What did you say?
Robert?
it would bring it down to
The bill was
169
after-
instead of 399.
The
I think
290,
he
so
said
300 plus, make it 460
or 69 was
on
after.
a 6-month payment plan.
169.
Yeah, but then you add your GRP fees in there.
Yeah,
What do you
the
have with
total.
that
All right,
GRP?
so let's see, 169.50. Add in the trash. Sewer. Plus 293.8. It'd be 479.48.
Take care of it.
And he said he's already paid $250 of that, I believe.
Correct.
Well, no, I
On the
just paid
14th of August.
$250
Yeah,
as a regular bill. I don't know how much of it would cover that, but that was more than whatever the bill was against that.
Mhm.
And that's what I was planning on trying to pay each month if I could, like that amount until I got it all paid off.
Right. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
I
we'll
just
have
wanna
that
be
budget.
sure that
If the
the
board
water goes out,
Yeah.
not to turn no water off.
No, we won't.
Yeah, we
won't say more. If the board's okay with it, we can do that, and then we'll get all the final figures
That's not just
together.
one.
Get with Mr. Clinton and let him know what it would be, and then he can let us know how long he would have to pay that out.
Okay, can you tell us what the bill will be then? If you were to just pay it, go to tier 1 and just pay it?
Yeah, it was what'd you say, Robert?
479.48.
479.48, and the normal bill for that month before was 179.
Yeah, so
So
the
it's really
payment plan would
$300
be,
difference. $300 difference,
Which is the GRP.
Yes.
right.
which is the GRP. Okay.
So if we divide that across 6 months, that'd be $79 in addition to regular water bill, and
I'll
for
get
6
that
months.
paid before then. That's fine.
And that's fine, you can do that as well, we just. So you'll have it.
Does that seem fair to you?
Well, you're still paying for something that you don't think that you should pay for.
That's right.
And I'm not sure what we could do about that. Other than,
Could we go to 0 on the water and not tier 1?
I don't know.
I mean,
We can do whatever.
yeah. The district directive says they want tier 1, so.
Or even at an extra $300. You don't have a pool, you don't have a water system.
What would be the concern, if any, if we just prorate his bill to the amount? The monthly payment?
You know, we end up eating the GRP, which, you know.
But we're concerned there was some issue, we're not sure where it was, and we want to do something.
Listen,
clue what it was.
Right, so what?
You know what, it comes down to precedence, right? I mean, you're trying to do something that, you know, you want to do what you feel good about, but you're trying to do something that's a precedent for the future too, so, you know.
The level.
If I had a leak, looked like it
understand.
would have shown up somewhere.
Right.
In my yard or wherever.
What are the different levels? That level 1 is the first level of reduction, but you said there's another level that we've considered in the past as well.
Grabbing the,
I'm not sure.
Your bills are set up on tier structure.
Yeah.
It depends on the water, the usage amount for each tier. So Robert's got your rate order there. He can tell you like 0 to 10,000 gallons would be your would be your base bill, where they pay a certain amount for that water. Anything over 10,000 to 20,000 is a step up, and they pay how much?
Yeah, $1.50 for 10 to 20,000. 20,000 to 30 is $3.
Gotcha.
And
So
over
it
30.
just kind of steps up. The more water they use, the higher rate they pay.
Okay, thank you for.
And of course, the 1050 is your base from 0 to 10,000.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time. I'm gonna let y'all decide how to handle it. I'm not gonna sit here and be a part of that. I don't think y'all want me to be a part of that. So I'll let
You're
y'all.
welcome here.
Yeah.
I appreciate it very much. Y'all have been very nice to listen to. Golly, it's a pleasure just to have a group like this sitting over our water problem.
Well, you know, we're your neighbors.
Yeah.
And we
understand.
all trying to achieve the same thing, not trying to gouge each other. So,
Mr. Clint, thank you for coming.
Okay.
Again, thank you for your service.
Yes.
And
Thank you. I
appreciate
appreciate
you
it.
coming to explain this.
Come back and visit anytime.
Oh, thank you. I may do that.
Here, on the, give you my card here so you can reach me directly.
Okay, very good.
So
Thank you. I
Robert will
appreciate
reach out to you and let you know what the decision.
it. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. gentlemen.
Prorate it to what his normal bill is.
Yeah, I don't.
If he comes back next year and he's got another one, but this was a one-time thing, he's checking his water meter every night. I mean, you know, it's a conscientious.
Angela, would you?
could we turn it off for a moment? No, that's fine. No, turn it back on. That's
So
good.
you're going to adjust it down to the tier 1. So the
Yep.
bill will be adjusted down to $479.48.
Take care of.
No.
Okay. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Got it.
Okay.
And you can, and if you want, and if if there's the need to do an installment plan,
Of course.
talk about that.
Okay, all right, so we do need a motion, but this is something we normally cover under the operator's report. So if y'all just want to wait to the operator's report? Or,
Sure.
All right. Okay, all right, anything else under public comments? Okay. Agenda item 2 is to approve the minutes of the July 17th and August 4th Board of Directors meetings. We did not get the August 4th minutes completed prior to today's meeting, so we are recommending and requesting you all defer approval of those. The July 17th draft minutes were sent out last week when the agenda went out. We did not get any questions or comments prior to today's meeting. So if you have any, please let us know. But if there are none, just need a motion to approve as written. Okay, we got a motion by Rhett. Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. All right, agenda item 3, Bookkeepers
All right.
report.
All right, everybody should have copied the August report. Attorneys has the cover page, page 1. This month we're focusing our spotlight on maintenance and operations tax rate, as it is tax rate setting season. This just gives you some informational purposes of how your M&O revenue would be affected if we were to increase your rate by 1 cent. On page 2 is your monthly financial summary. And then page 3 and 4 is your cash flow report for the month. We have receipts of about $208,000 and disbursements of 31 checks up for your approval today of about $193,000. We did include pay app number 2 to CSEW Industries, and then you may have noticed you had 2 per diems. One was for the August 4th special meeting. Page 5 is your cash flow report for your operator's account for your July accounts receivable. Then there's pages 6 through 9 is your actual versus budget comparison. The left 3 columns are reporting the month of July, and the right 3 is your fiscal year to date of 6 months. Just some updated values for you there. Page 10 and 11, your balance sheet as of July 31st. Page 12 is your monthly financial summary for your sewer treatment plant fund. 13 shows the activity for the month. We do have 6 checks up for your approval today, nothing out of the ordinary. 14 and 15 is your updated actual versus budget comparison. Page 16 begins your monthly financial summary for your joint water plant fund. 17 shows 8 checks for your approval from the joint water plant. We have a January overpayment credit with check number 5155 that we're issuing back to 346. They did end up paying the whole bill instead of just their portion, so we're just giving that back to them. 18 and 19 is your updated actual versus budget comparison. We could skim over 20 and 21. The district does not have any debt. Next 2 pages is your investment profile and your account balance as of today. We are still holding off as per your request on investing on any CDs. Currently our money market rate is at 5.47%. 24 and 25 is your cash flow forecast. We're still sitting at 64 months reserve. And then the last page is your sales tax revenue history. We collected just over $10,000 for the month of May. And that's all I have for you, unless you have any questions.
Questions?
Mhm.
Okay, do y'all want to talk about investing in CDs, or do you want to hold off? We have some that want to start, because you normally do it, you know, like 30 days, 30 days, 30 days. You don't do them all at once. If y'all want to.
What are the current, CD rates?
We're
Now
locked in.
versus the,
I've seen them locked in at 5.1 just recently. That is our investment team that handles that, but that's the highest I've seen. Definitely, we will not go under 5%.
and how much cash do we have that's kind of
So right now,
would need
sitting.
to be invested in CDs if we go back to that?
So right now we have 5.8 million sitting in our money market operating fund account. We typically like to have at least 3 months of our expense reserve and sitting in there for liquidity purposes. So we have a really large amount that we can invest. We'll go up to 12 CDs to match, and we currently have 2, so we can invest up to 10, but we typically we'll do 3 at a time, and we'll ladder them per month. So we'll have 1 maturing each month.
So 3.
We could do 3 to start if that's something you feel comfortable with, and then.
There's the interest rates are still going up, so at some point that's going to go the other way.
I'd be fine with putting now. Then how are we coming on appraisal? Okay. All right.
So do invest 3 CDs, so it'll be 600,000, 750. What's the?
Yeah, it's about 750 because right now we're investing at 235,000.
250, okay,
Mhm.
250.
No.
Okay, all right, then if we can get a motion to approve the bookkeeper's report, authorize the payment of the invoices presented, and then authorize your bookkeeper to do 3 months of laddered CDs.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, agenda item 4, tax assessor collector's report.
All right, board, if you want to pull out my report. Collections for the month of July are coming in at $211.50. Total disbursements is $2,981.44, bringing your cash balance to $96,111.38. I brought 4 checks for your review and approval today, the 2 Wheeler checks and then 2 correction checks that came through. Following page is your historical. The district was at 99.40% when this report was run. As of today, when I left, you're at 99.46%. So the amount outstanding has dropped down to a little over $5,000. Final page is your calculation of cash, breakdown of your income and disbursements. Please let me know if you have any questions.
When do you think we'll get certified values?
I think next week.
All right, any questions for Isabel on the tax report? All right, can we get a motion to approve the report, authorize payment of the invoices presented?
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, agenda item 5 is delinquent tax collection attorney's report. We do not have a quarterly report for you all. The next quarterly report will be presented in October. Agenda item 6 is the financial advisor's recommendation regarding the 2023 tax rate for the district. There are no certified values yet, so that will be deferred until next month. Harris County, once again, is delayed, but that's okay. Agenda item 7 is the engineer's report.
Y'all, has anyone heard that the values will increase or decrease, or too early to tell?
I think preliminary values will increase.
Yes, I had the preliminary numbers if I need to refresh us.
Yes, please.
Right, so if you pull out my report and you flip to the historical, you look at the top, you got the total TV. You can see the $6,038,000.
Yes.
That was 2022. So 2023's prelim number is at $7,200,288.
How much?
Yeah.
7,002,000. Wait,
Wait.
I'm sorry.
700.
702, 288, 724.
Okay, so 702 million.
702 million. Yes.
Okay.
Too many twos.
Yeah.
Sorry. And it's just like a bunch of numbers, so I'm like,
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All right, engineer report.
Good afternoon, board. If you follow along on the one-page engineering report, item 7A, design bid award construction contract, none to report on that. Item 7B, the status of your generators. No pay estimate to present to the board this month on the generators for lift stations 1 and 2. I did add a note here just so everybody keeps in mind the generator delivery anticipated is for end of January. And that's the latest correspondence that we had with W Industries. Item B2 for the generator at the joint wastewater treatment plant. No pay estimate to present this month, and they are still reporting anticipated to deliver at the end of February. Item 7C and D, none to report on either of those. Item 7E, the hike and bike trail with Harris County Precinct 4 and the interlocal agreement with Harris County 346. I did reach out to the district attorney, for Harris County 346. She mentioned that some of the inputs were changed by Doug Deal after they executed that version of the original agreement. So it got kicked out of the approval process. The county confirmed that they'll be coordinating with the district engineer, Bowman Engineering, to determine how to proceed with those changes. So that's all I have.
What is that?
Also,
I'm not
just
sure what
as
that.
a reminder, Doug Deal is the board president
Oh,
for
yes.
Green Trails Mud. He has
Yes.
nothing to do with Harris County 346 and nothing.
Right.
That's
Yes,
correct.
I know.
What is that? What does that mean that it was kicked out of the approval process? What was kicked out, and how does that impact?
I don't know the exact inputs that were changed. Maybe Doug Deal as a Green Trails resident, and the Green Trails might had some more inputs as far as what needs to be changed, or maybe also she didn't expand the district attorney, but maybe also the widening of certain portions. I know we've discussed that with the county and Doug Deal, but I don't know the specifics, but I can try to find out. One thing to note that the original contact that the former the parks director that I was dealing with, David Lowe, has retired. I got kickback emails, and so there's some new correspondence that I'm getting from the parks director. But I'll make a note to try to figure out what exactly all the details of what changes versus.
Thank you.
Okay, item F, the procurement of portable generators to serve lift stations 1 and 2 and the joint wastewater treatment plant. I was reached out to Robert last week, and Inframark did receive approval to purchase the portable generator cables. As far as I know that.
Yeah, so we have it in order right now. Once they're in, we'll just build out the ends of those, just so that way it fits our connections for the district specifically, and then we'll be good to go. All currently in process.
So the rentals are secure. We got that. We have that locked in. So we should, from this point forward, if we have any emergency.
Yeah, once the cables come in, it'll still take a couple weeks for those to get in and get built out. But everything's in process as far as that goes. Good to go. Getting that put together.
What's the timing on that again?
That'll be a few weeks to get those in, and then it take our guys a short period to get it built out with the district. So it won't take long at all.
I would think during hurricane season, we'd want to push that as much as possible.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I've been bugging them every couple of weeks, like, what's the latest? What's going on?
When did we order the cables?
It was a few days after the last meeting.
Oh, so this is taking quite a while to get them in.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, just like anything nowadays, it's longer than it used to be.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and moving on to item G, the presentation of regarding groundwater reduction plans. I have John Lacey here with our office. He has a handout, and he will go through a presentation on the groundwater reduction plan.
Thanks. There were a couple of questions that came up at the last meeting about GRPs. So, and then it came up as well in today talking about the GRP fees. I thought it'd be good, just do a little refresher kind of summary of what the GRP is. And, I apologize if y'all know some of this. I'm just trying to give sort of an overview. So generally, the district has always been on groundwater, just like all of the Houston area. It wasn't until about 1958 that the city of Houston built the first surface water plant at the East Water Plant. So historically, the district in Houston has always been on well water. What is the GRP? Groundwater reduction plan is basically let me back up here. So the Silence District is the state agency that in 1975 was created to regulate how much groundwater each area uses. So in 1975, they started shifting toward using less groundwater throughout the area. So in the Silence District for our area is broken into 3 areas here. You can see on the map, area 1, 2, and 3. And area 1 and 2 have already mostly been converted to non-groundwater. So you can see areas 1 and 2 have to be using 10 to 20% or less of groundwater out of their total water use for the area. So area 3 is the farthest into the system, and it's the last to get these requirements rolled into it. So it's in a process of conversion. It has not been converted yet. So The first phase of the Region 3 has already been converted, so 30% of the Area 3 has to be something other than groundwater. So what does that mean? It means 70% of your water can be groundwater, and the remaining 30% can be something else. But starting with the 2025 permits, it's going to shift to 60% and 20%. So why is that in place? It's basically saying that, okay, ideally we'd be liking to shift off of groundwater and be using other sources of water, but it's expensive to do that. You can't do it all in one fell swoop. You can't just, wave your magic wand and you've got surface water everywhere. So what they do is they convert it in stages. And so the only provider in the area that currently has surface water is the city of Houston. So all of the regional water authorities, North Harris County Regional Water Authority, West Harris County, Central, North Fort Bend, they all receive their surface water from the city of Houston. So they have to construct large pipelines to bring the water from the city over to their area. And in order to do that, it takes pump stations and pipelines. You can't build all of that all in one fell swoop. So they do it a little bit at a time and convert more and more districts over time until they reach their goals. So when we're talking about the goal requirements, the cost of that infrastructure is spread over all of the water users within the area. So whether you're receiving surface water or not, you're having to pay that GRP fee. So currently, we're having to pay I think you said $2.50. Is that right? For the
Yes,
city of Houston.
that's what the district.
That's the city of Houston's GRP fee, and it's what pays for all that infrastructure to go in place. So we currently don't have any way to take surface water. We can't actually reduce our groundwater usage because there's no surface water available for us to take. But because we're within the city of Houston's GRP, we have to pay that $2.50. And it's worth noting that rate, the city has indicated that rate is going to continue to increase over the next 5 years or so. We don't have any control over that. It's not something that we can change. It's just something that the city has said, hey, cost of everything is going up. That cost has to be passed along. We have to, they've got various water and wastewater infrastructure that has to be built and things like that. So that's why that fee is going to increase over the next 5 years. But if you look on the back, you can see the West Harris County, there was an opportunity back in the past to choose between which GRP this district wanted to be a part of. It could either be part of West Harris County Regional Water Authority or be part of the city of Houston. We didn't have the option of North Fort Bend because it's in a different county. We had to be in the Harris County. So if you look at West Harris County's fees, $3.95 per 1,000 gallons, and their surface water fee is $4.35 per 1,000 gallons. So that means that even if you're not taking surface water from them and you're only taking well water, you're still being charged that $3.95 per 1,000 gallons. So the board made a really good decision back then when they chose to be in the city of Houston's GRP, and that they're not having to pay that significant amount of money through, being charged at a much lower rate. It looks like that rate may increase over time, unfortunately, because cities' rates are having to catch up and pay for some of this infrastructure. But in the meantime, we've been, enjoying that savings over time. So that was a really good decision. Let's see. So just a few points of emphasis down here at the bottom. Important notes. We don't have access to the surface water. At some point in the future, the city may build that surface water line out to the district, and until they do, there's no way to get surface water. The only group in the area to get water from is the city, and they have to build the pipeline out to us before we can get that water in. So in the meantime, we're using groundwater. That's our only source, our option. We've looked in the city's system to look at future projects, and they don't even show a future project to bring that line out there. So it's off in the distant future in their planning. And the goals of Area 3 are met by the whole area. So it's important to note we're not responsible for 70% reduction or 50% reduction, any of those kinds of things. We're part of the area, part of the GRP, which accomplishes the goals together. So we pay into the system, we're part of the system, and we rise or fall together with the system. If we don't meet those goals, then the subsidence district charges over $10 per 1,000 gallons. So that's the hammer that if we don't do what we're supposed to do, if the area doesn't work together, then you're stuck with those. So in the meantime, we continue to operate as usual. We're not expected to reduce groundwater to help meet these goals. City of Houston, you can see on the first page, the majority of it is part of this area too. It's already 80% converted to surface water. So when you think about it like that, and the city of Houston is providing all the water to the authorities that are in Area 3 to meet those goals, the city has got bigger fish to fry than one district on the very edge of their system providing water to that one area. They can meet that 80%, that 90% conversion without providing that surface water to every single.
John, is there any, when you were looking at timing on any guess what the timing might be for us as to when trunk lines might be laid out to us?
That's a good question. I mean, I think if it was going to happen, it would probably be by the 2035.
Yeah.
That's that next goal that they have to meet. And but the subsidence district is constantly evaluating the conversion and how things are doing, and those may get adjusted back, even further back. So it wouldn't be the first time that they've adjusted those dates. Generally, it's always for them.
But just your best guess right now is that it wouldn't be before 2035 for our district.
Well, if it was in that area, it would be probably a year or two before 2035 would be my guess.
10 years out.
If it happens, yeah. It might not happen at all.
The question on your first page, towards the bottom, you have 30% by 2024, 60% by 2025. Shouldn't that be 80%?
I'm sorry, that should be 80. I was looking at him and then I understood it backwards.
That's right. I didn't.
Good question, John. So again, this is very basic for, again, kind of understanding this back map a little bit. The West Harris County, RWM, and the GRP, water source is all the same, right? All city, Lake Houston, right?
It's all coming from the city of Houston's surface water.
The pipelines, again, don't change if we were in the West Harris County versus the GRP.
There are two main trunk lines that basically follow the path of Beltway 8, and there was the original line that went from serving the East Water Plant and Northeast Water Plant along that path, and it basically brought it to kind of this area here, close to the edge of North Harris and West Harris County. From there, they took pump stations and basically delivered it out through pipelines to the various parts of the district. So you can see for West Harris County, their pump station is out here, and they've spread out this way. So you can see we're down toward the bottom of the West Harris County's district. We're going to be one of the last areas that West would bring their pipelines to. City of Houston, same way. They were originally tons and tons of wells throughout the city, and they've started to take more and more surface water by turning off their wells, and now they can supplement that with the water from the plants. So they're using the same system, but again, we're out at the very edges of their system, and they're having to supply water to their whole system, so they're able to meet their goals. You know, you think about it, it's really just that perimeter section that they're.
So we don't have any way of knowing for sure, but you know, we don't know that the timeline would be any different if we were in West Harris County versus CRP. So
we don't. We're at the far edges of both systems.
Yeah.
So it probably.
Okay. Right now, I work on Park Row, and they're for over a year, well over a year, maybe 2 years. They've been laying this pipeline down Park Row. Do you have any idea? Is that part of this?
Is
build
I
out?
believe so. They're in the process right now of their 2025 conversion.
Right.
And so the main trunk lines, there's the original main, like I believe it's 100-inch, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Pipeline that supplied water to all the authorities, and then now they've done a second line, so that if they were to have a rupture or a break or something, all their waters. But you also got to remember that there's supplying so much more water as part of the conversion that they need that additional capacity in the pipeline.
Right.
So that's why they have this.
Where's the water treatment plant that we would be getting surface water from when it comes?
Generally, the city's workhorse has been the East Water Plant, which is, you've got the Northeast Plant, the East Plant, and the Southeast Plant.
Where's the East?
East Plant is around Federal Road, kind of a long way away. But that plant supplies the bulk of the water for the city. The Northeast Plant is in the process of being upgraded from 80 MGD to 320 MGD. So it's the $1.7 billion job that's going on right now, which is not expected to be online, I think, until 2027, something like that. So that will supply a lot more water for this second pipeline, but it's going to take a while for all that in place. So to answer your question, I believe it's probably a combination of the East Plant and the North Plant, because they mix them all.
Some of these districts that have converted over to surface water, I know, are still use, keep their wells available, as we will
Absolutely.
too. And some of them mix, I think, on a regular basis. We were talking about earlier, and as just part of their normal. So would a well, that ongoing production of your well within the district, does that factor into that 10% or whatever that, for example, I think you said that section 1 is like 90% or something like that. I don't remember. It's on
Correct.
Yeah. 1 and 2 are already 80-90% converted. Do they track that? Does that, so if does that account for maybe some of that 10 to 20%?
Yes. It's a combination of things. Most of the time, the authorities or the city just doesn't have enough water necessarily to meet all of the summer demands, especially in a summer like this. And so you get into a situation where you have to have the well to meet those peaks. It can supply an average daily flow, for everybody, but when everybody's trying to take peaks, they just can't do it. So the wells really are going to be necessary, not just to meet those peaks, but also in a situation like the city of Houston's entire water system is one pressure plant. So if they have a problem anywhere in the system, the whole system is shut down. Boil notices for multiple days. And so
you don't have
having those wells for redundancy, for backup, is absolutely critical.
Well, I hear that too. Friends that live in Champion, that they're on surface water, and they said every time a hurricane or a major storm comes through, the city water shuts down, and they flip over to their well water, which is it's good. That's why you have that backup. But they said it's critical.
And John, when they're laying their lines, will they have to, or when they do lay the lines to us, will it be on one of our borders or into our district, or will we have to lay out of district to reach them? Do you know anything about, I'm just thinking about future right-of-ways things, and if we have to go and lay outside of our district, or will it be within our?
That's a good point, because you got, the reservoir right there, and that's really a big natural barrier between the city system and where we're at. So they do have some water lines that, Highway 6 in that area, they've got some decent sized trunk lines right there, but they really need to extend something larger out to serve this area. And so there's probably some challenges associated with finding that right away that close to I-10. Otherwise, they got to go all the way around the reservoir to provide water to it. So none of those projects are showing up in the city's planning system. So, with the budget constraints they have and all the issues they're dealing with, it's a question about, how soon are they anticipating that stuff.
But generally speaking, when they call for you to tie into them, have they laid to you, or is it like within 5 miles, good luck, get your own right away, too bad?
They'll bring a line directly to the plant. And there will be a separate project also to convert the plant to surface water. So,
but they
immediately adjacent districts don't have any of those showing up in the next 5 to 7 years. So, question of
that they lay to us, we don't have to lay to them.
Correct.
Okay.
Assuming if they bring the water to the district, but that's generally the way they always do it, is bring it straight to the district.
And just to finish up Brett's thought on the chloramine in the system you have to convert to, is that, how significant a project is that kind of from a process and a cost? Are there any other risks associated with that we need to be aware of? Or I know Ralph's for it would be cheap to.
Generally, the difference between what's involved for a conversion project is typically there will be a line brought to the plant, and then there'll be like a meter and a control station, because you have to know how much water you're taking, and they have to be able to control that. And then there's a line that comes in and would go into the top of the ground to drop water in. So you can use the same facilities to pump it out into the system, same pipes and all that. But that supply pipe is the critical path. You've got to have the pipe there, or you don't have water to use. From a chloramine conversion standpoint, basically chloramines is chlorine and liquid ammonium sulfate, LAS, 2 different chemicals, and surface water requires that second chemical. So it would be not a huge conversion, but there would be a need for a little bit more chemical addition to make that happen. And that's the way that all the city system works, is using those chemicals.
Most people are familiar with chlorine to treat water, but what is this other chemical that's going to be put into our water system?
Called LAS. It's basically it's just another disinfectant that's used along with chlorine, but it's necessary because surface water is a little bit different. You've got turnover that occurs in the lakes, and so chemistry is just a little bit different. The beauty of groundwater is it's all filtered by all the sand naturally, and so it's generally good quality water. I mean, back in when Houston was first starting, they tried to drink water from the bayou, and everybody got sick. And so, that's why Houston grew up on groundwater naturally, much safer still.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. All right, any other questions for Jason? action in the report. Thank you guys. One thing I did want to point out, in the bookkeepers report, there was a payment to W Industries for pay estimate. Y'all approved that at last month.
Yes.
So it's just included. All right, agenda item 8, the status of the acquisition of property owned by Second Baptist Church for the second water well. Session. Agenda item 9, operators.
All right. Well, if everyone grab the report, turn past the cover page here. Just a few updates over discussions last month. Under the previous action items, the ATS delivery, I got an update at the end of last week. They still say that part's about 4 to 6 weeks out to come in, but we're staying on top of that. And of course, we'll let you know once it's in and installed. Of course, we had talked about the generator agreement, so we covered that portion there. And of course, CNC Water, we're waiting on them to finish up the new equipment, so that's still in process as well. But we haven't gotten an update as far as their percentage along, but we have a message out to them. And I also want to cover last month we Ms. Smith had brought up the website, and so there was, when you typed in Harris County 345, we had the Inframark site for 345, and then there was a sub link, and one of the sub links did link to an older site that should have been expunged out, and so we did get our IT group on there. We did get that cleared out, so it is removed. The one that didn't have the Wheeler link and had the wrong or an older CCR, and so that's been adjusted and fixed. And I also got an update from our IT and website team in that process that they are currently building a new Inframark website for districts, and so it's going to be a much more streamlined version to make updates and things like that easier, so these misses don't happen anymore. And of course, with that being said, they are making it uniform across all the districts that we serve. And so customization is going to be limited, like they're taking the water rates off of there, things like that. And so I know what we have talked about as far as adding things to the website and getting information out and things like that. I think the way things are going now, I don't know if our website can handle that in the new setup. So it might be something for the district to consider looking at building their own at that point. But of course, that's a decision, for the board. But just that information I got, wanted to give it out to y'all just so we know what's coming in the future.
Okay. How long in the future do you know?
I don't. So I think it's just, that stuff's kind of over my head as far as how long that takes. But they didn't give me a time frame that they.
2035.
Right.
No earlier.
TBA. So, anyways, I wanted to give a quick update on that.
But I think it's to that point. If you can, I think that's something important to keep, so that we're going to need some lead time on that. So if all of a sudden there's important information that we put out there that's no longer available, we probably need to know about that at least 6 months in advance, probably longer, 6 months to a year in advance, so we can respond to it if we somehow.
Shouldn't take them that long to build this out this website.
I'll find out. I'll have to see if they have a date, at least maybe a target date or something like that.
But I mean, to your point, we can't. We have the portal that you've been involved with as far as communicating. But I do think it might be time to look again at a website or something like that that some other districts are doing.
What I would say, I agree, Dave. What I would suggest is if we can get a target date on when this is going to be implemented, then we can.
I agree.
Want to address it.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll send a message over there and see what I can find out for you. Thank you. All right. And then, of course, we had talked about in the special meeting about the letter to be mailed out. I got confirmation that went out on the 15th of August.
I received mine Saturday.
Perfect. If you haven't gotten it, it's probably in your mailbox now.
I didn't check my mail.
Yeah, check my mail.
And I think that's all the updates here for that. So current action items, I don't have any for y'all today. Run through our compliance and operations side. Our monthly back T samples all came back compliant, no concerns. We have our water supply through the 216 interconnect at 1,868,000. Metered and billed for 345, 31,738,000. Metered and billed for 346, 6,244,000. Accountability at 95.95%, which is great. The Will GPN, you'll see that it doesn't have our usual 1600, that their meter out there is stuck. And so I've already been in contact with the project manager of the Houston Public Works on getting that replaced. So it is in their pipeline now, just waiting for that meter to come in, and they'll go out there and fix it. So right now we're running off of our averages for the time frame historically. But I'll let you know once that's in place. And then wastewater treatment, wastewater collection, all compliant, no concerns. On the operations side, we have, of course, our monthly flushing. We changed out 9 meters over the million gallon program. We had 5 leak repairs in the district, 6 level and sods, and then we had a commercial meter, 2-inch one, that we did replace as well because that one got stuck. Sanitary sewer, just our monthly labs, our 6-month mechanical preventative maintenance, and then customer care at the bottom. Delinquent letters, we're at 56. Tags, 23, we did that 5 disconnects. We have no accounts for write-offs, no for collections for this month. So that is all I have as far as what's happening, unless anyone has any questions.
Robert, do you want to address why we use West interconnect when?
Yes. So basically, we have our water interconnect through West Park because it's the only interconnect that can sustain pressure-wise to feed the district to its full pressure to all the customers without hindering their system. Like for 216, that we get our water, our 30 million per year, that isn't enough to maintain our district without making theirs suffer. And so we tried to play with the amounts, our operator, their operator, but there isn't a balance to where it's going to not hinder one or the other on that alone. So as of right now, like the West Park is the only one that can service it properly without having constant issues on both the operation side and, of course, the customers as a result.
Do you want to address why we get $30 million? $30 million, that would be great.
$30 million.
$30 million from 216.
Of course, and Alan, correct me if I miss anything here, but during the summer months, obviously water goes up, it's hotter, watering grass, things like that, and so the extra water supplemented from them just helps strain on the plant, on our equipment, and to just better meet the needs without running into issues. So of course, and the goals have water out to our residents, and that helps us maintain it at the least stress on our system possible.
And so they usually open interconnect at the beginning of the summer with the stress on the plant.
Yes, June 1st.
I think in the past there'd been some problems with us not being able to meet the demand properly, and so time 216 was available, they weren't as built out, and they had excess capacity, and so it was mutually beneficial for us to enter into an agreement to get their excess water because we were finding that we were always needing it at some point during the summer. So that's where the agreement came.
Is 216 built out now? Do we know? Are they?
I'm not sure, we're not the operator.
Yeah.
Because it's very likely that in the future they may just say, look, we have to meet our needs. We can no longer provide this.
How long does our agreement go through?
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head.
Still have some good time on it, but
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Of Inframark.
Mm-hmm.
So we rely on West Park for the interconnect for emergencies.
Correct.
Right? It's part of the WHRCWA. And so what happens when it converts to surface water? Do we lose that?
Alan, I'm not sure.
It's gonna depend because there is a possibility if they convert before the district, before 345 converts, either that interconnect will go away or 345 may have to go ahead and convert to chloramine in order to. So that's something that's gonna have to be looked at in the future.
And chloramines, if it's treating like, if it's needed for say they have surface water in the scenario and we have to switch to chloramines to treat that. If we're not using that and we're doing the chloramines to treat our groundwater, that's fine. It's not going to hinder it or anything like that. We don't have to switch back and forth. Once you make the switch to chloramines, it stays that way. So if we get the surface water in, it'll be set and ready. If it's not, then we're still good. Water's still being treated properly.
we still had emergency interconnects with Green Trails and with Longhorn
Yeah.
So that we can take that on a very short-term basis, but none of those can supply our needs on a long-term
But that's
basis.
kind of a good point. What that really means is, once any one of these, we're gonna see the requirement of chloramine probably well before we get pipe dropped into our system, because some of the interconnects that we work with could get it before we did, and the ripple effect of going from our system to Green Trails, Longhorn, back and forth and all that could push us to do it. Or
Possibility.
probably seems like a likely possibility. When you have all these because even some of these MUDs that we have interconnects with have interconnects with other adjoining districts that may be closer on, going to get it even sooner than maybe in this next. Right?
Just like Longhorn, Green Trail provides Baker Road. So Baker Road does not have its own well.
Right.
So that's why we did what we did by getting all these additional interconnects just for redundancy for us, and there was a need.
So what's the kind of monitoring mechanism to know? It could be 3 or 4 districts over that having to convert to chloramine maybe 5 years before we do, and some of that water can eventually get mixed and transferred from interconnect to interconnect into ours. How do we keep track of that? How do we know that? How do we monitor that?
As far as chloramines, the good thing about chloramines is you can accept certain water with both. So, but in terms of, that's going to be probably just a matter of when the time comes for the chloramine conversion, probably need operators.
So
to say,
so let's say if West Park converts to chloramine, and we get chloramine water from them that's mixed in with our chlorinated water, is that a problem? That is a problem.
it's not ideal.
Yeah, it can cause issues with taste and odor problems. So, disinfections.
But once we get our second well, then that could maybe take care of those situations where hopefully
we won't need
exactly.
much.
Hopefully.
I think it's just something to me that's I didn't really think about before today, that it's not just the city water, it's all the interconnects and just how, and all of their partners, and how it can all blend in and eventually get to us in some way, shape, or form, and if that could be a problem or not.
I've seen in the past, usually when another district, a scenario like that usually happens, the attorneys are out to each other and they well ahead of time.
How long would it take to convert to chloramines for us if we decided today we wanted to do it?
Yeah, really, that's kind of more of an engineering question. I guess it depends really on how sophisticated you wanted the system to be. As far as transferring it over or changing over is really fairly simple. You already had your chlorination system. All you're going to have to do, in layman's terms, is you add a big tank out there with LAS and a pump and a tap on the line there where you would mix the two together. I mean, there's not a whole lot to it per se. It just depends on what extent.
Chloramine conversion is just a small part of that, bringing the surface water line in. So if you're not doing that, converting distance, like you said.
So it's not a huge deal. It's like a 3 month, 4 month time to do it.
You have to get CCEQ approval to convert from to chloramine, and there's certification.
So we're talking 6 to 9 months, 6 to 12 months.
I would say probably.
So we got your plans to TCQ, they have to approve them, the process.
So it's a year, but we got a year. Once we decide to do it, it's going to take a year for it to get in.
It's not just Jason standing above the tank dripping something in there.
It could be. Titration, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's all I had for my report.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then the only action item is the resident's request, Mr. Clem, to adjust his water bill back to the tier. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item 10 is discussion of matters related to the district's water quality. It was discussed that the resident, the letter to the residents went out. And Rhett confirmed he got his, so that's good. We do have, we do have a couple emails from residents addressing the district's water quality. So you have copies of those in front of you. There are 4 emails. I sent those to you all as we received them, but they have
You
copies
sent
here.
those to us?
So we haven't gotten any in a while, so they were just
Oh,
since
okay.
the last regular board meeting.
None of them came out after the letter.
No, I haven't
Okay.
received any emails. And as I receive them, I forward them to you also.
And I do have an update for the latest sampling that on the 18th is when the state came out and did their sampling. And so I did confirm our 2 labs went on the same day and took their samples as well. And so we're just waiting on those results.
Okay, good.
August 18th,
Yes.
days ago?
So by the next board meeting, we should have the results of all.
I believe so. Sometimes it labs take a little while, but I'll send them as soon as I have them.
The state lab.
I was gonna
usually
say, I
takes
don't know
a-
when we get the state lab.
Yeah.
What about the private labs? What about those?
Ours will be faster. Yeah, the private labs, yeah. So I'll send those over as soon as I have it.
Thank you.
Board, is there anything else y'all want to talk about agenda item 10? Okay. All right, agenda item 11, Girls Monthly Report. We do have the July reports in front of you all. There were a rise in calls of services. They had total calls for service 576, but they think that is due to summer activity. No action, as you guys know, for your consideration today. But if you have any questions on the reports. Agenda item 12, communication with district residents, piloting mass communication messaging system by Classic Messaging.
So what I would like, we kind of touched on it a little bit at the special meeting, but what I would recommend, so Robert and I have received all the standard messages, and we've also received kind of a draft message from Classic Messaging that we would send out for the test. So what I would suggest is something to Kate for legal review, and then basically if we can work, the 3 of us, Robert and Kate and I will work together, and we'll go through wording and make whatever adjustments we need to, and have a pre-approved set of messages already kind of on the shelf, so to speak. So if we do ever have, for example, a boil water notice, we've already kind of reviewed, the base message, and it doesn't need a whole lot, doesn't need another legal review, right? Or another operator review before we send it. Those are on kind of the standard message. And then on the test message, we need to do a review on that as well, just to make sure we're good with that. I guess as far as I was thinking about the timing of that, since we just sent out the mailer, how much time do we want to kind of give people a chance to kind of get their mail and read it before we go forward? So is this like, by maybe right before the next board meeting, kind of a target date to go ahead and do the test? I don't see any reason why we couldn't do that from a timing perspective. That'll give people 2 or 3 weeks to get to their mail and read it. And hopefully they're going to sign up, go ahead and sign up. Everybody's going to get the test message, regardless of whether they've signed up, because it's considered an emergency, part of the emergency preparedness. So that
Sounds good to me.
that's,
I have
that's
your
kind of my
test.
understanding. So if everybody's okay with that, Kate and Robert and I will work on that for the next 2 to 4 weeks, and we'll hopefully by the next board meeting send out the test message, and we'll have some feedback.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? Agenda item 13, the status of the installation of the hike and bike underpass on Fry Road by the Willow Fork Drainage District. I have not received any updates from Drainage District. I don't know, board, if y'all have heard anything since we heard of an update. One of y'all heard about it, so nothing. Okay, all right, no update. Agenda item 14, attorney's report. I do not have anything additional of legal nature to cover with you guys. Agenda item 15, the district's potential litigation involving that district. I don't have an update for you guys, so we don't need to discuss that in closed session. But agenda item 16 is convening in closed session, so we will go into closed session at 1:26 p.m. Thank you all.
This one, this is, but, supplemental quote from June.